Alright, welcome to episode 90 of What is Civilization started over. The annoying thing about this episode is it's kind of like usually every 10 episodes I would do something really special, but I can't really think of anything special to do for episode 90, which is annoying because it's quite a big number. So I thought of something like kind of cool, but it's not really that great. Well, it's kind of cool, it's alright. So we're going to do that, but in the last episode we saw the invasion of Baikal, so Europe, Asia. It looks very different now without Baikal. We also saw, what else did I do? Oh, Ireland invaded Iceland, I'm pretty sure. And there's probably some other stuff, but that was maybe. Oh, Korea invaded Blue Japan, and the Red Japanese got involved. That's definitely not going to be relevant in today's episode. First off, in today's episode, though, we need to go right back to Ireland because they're invading yet another country, and this time it's going to be Germany. No, not Germany. That would be silly. No, they're invading the nation of Greenland because Greenland has nothing going on, and Ireland is destined to take over the entirety of this northern area. For some reason, cities and provinces have been swapped. Anyway, Greenland doesn't really have any cities, so they just kind of take the capital, and after that, Greenland surrenders. So, in a peace treaty, it's going to look kind of like Ireland taking over the entire island. Really, I don't know why I did that. That was kind of stupid. And then they've got lots of small islands, silly Greenlanders. Anyway, yeah, apparently this world doesn't care about Greenland as much as they do in real life. But, America's just got invaded Venezuela and kidnapped his wife and the president. I meant the other way around, but you get what I mean. So, yeah, the world is really doing some weird stuff at the moment. Anyway, Ireland now owns Greenland, and the rest of the Greenlander country was left alone because they don't want to go to North America. Well, Greenland is in North America, but they don't want to go to, the full thing. So what they're going to do instead is just let Greenland exist, its own country. However, now it's going to be, I don't know, Greenland Sea, Labrador? What is this? Is this the Greenland Sea? Gulf of Greenland or something? I don't know, Gulf of America. No, I'm not American. I don't support Trump. Anyway, they own Ellesmere Island and Baffin Island, and a lot of other ones where no one lives. But their capital is now in Baffin Island, so that's cool. Where do I want to go next? You know what? Let's go to America, because why not? Because here in America, we've had some countries reach out for various alliances, and the first country to reach out for an alliance with one of the great superpower countries is the nation of Texas, as they approach the Russians and ask for a military alliance. And that's kind of interesting. Why are you in Russia? But, here's Texas, and they're going to do that. The Russians will, of course, accept, because getting power and influence is a good thing. Pretty sure the Russians might... Okay, I did the wrong layer. Silly me. Why would I think I would actually do it right? But the Russians don't have the greatest of alliances. They have quite a few important countries in Europe, but so does everyone else. But Russia's there in Europe as well, and they've got, I think, the most allies there, but they're kind of losing on all of the other fronts and continents, so it's kind of a shame. But they gain Texas as an ally. However, another country has also been building influence in the north, and as they gain Texas as an ally, it turns out this country has also been working with kind of the superpower they're related to, and it's actually the nation of Germany that they've been working with. Germany they've been working with, interestingly enough. Germany is not the leader of their alliance. However, they have been trying to integrate the pink team up here into this sort of Canadian bloc of countries because they wanted to kind of integrate them into this group. This isn't exactly like a Commonwealth, but they're all heavily influenced by German culture and things like that. So they wanted to force the pink team into that group because the Germans also kind of claimed this and they wanted it as part of their colony, but they never got that. So, oh well. And then the final country who kind of reaches out to the Circle Alliance, obviously, just out of fear, is America. As they approach them and like, hey guys, would you like to be my friend? I'm kind of scared. But just as America reaches out to this country, we see a war start over in this area, interestingly enough, and it's going to be turned into a huge proxy conflict as Texan forces cross the border into the Yellow Country. Now, America, are you America? I don't know, what area is this? I don't know my American states very well, but it's coastal, so I might actually know. Oh wait, provinces, dumbass. Oh, that's Carolina, isn't it? North Carolina. Anyway, I don't know. The Texan forces move up towards the capital, the Yellow Country. The Yellow Country, I have no idea what's happening here. Like a load of homesteaders and stuff. I'm not sure. But they take the capital of this country. The Appalachian Mountains are over here, so maybe it's kind of arable. Also, quite a few people in this southern area, apparently. Maybe, I don't know, farming cow or something. cattle, cows. As they move across into all those territories, how the Americans, as I said before, had their military on high alert because of all this other stuff that was going on. So it's not too long until they are encouraged by the Arabic Union to get involved in this proxy conflict. So American forces surge across the border into this yellow country, which is kind of scary. The pink team will then, of course, be influenced by the Germans to go and invade themselves. How they have like the least valuable bit over here in the east to go and invade into. So yeah, it just always happens. But it's fine. So the Texans, they're going to do like the most important stuff on the southern territory, where a majority of people live. The Americans are going to try and like squeeze their forces in through this gap. I mean, it's not really that bad because it's not exactly like this and the invasion thing. But after a bit more fighting, I suppose, the borders of occupation look something like this. How these armies haven't left, they haven't signed a peace deal yet. They're all just kind of sitting there, occupying stuff, and that's when some American soldiers are going to make a kind of stupid move, and they accidentally move into the capital to kind of help them occupy it in Texas. But then they start fighting the Texans, and then they win, and they take the capital away from Texas, which really annoys them. And then this entire thing goes to hell because Texan forces, well, Texas, like its generals in its area, like, you know what, we need to take this back from America. So they push in and take the capital city of the Yellow Country and also this major city over here. And America's like, well, we didn't authorize those people to do that, so we don't really. And then the pink team pushes in here in the east because they want to get more land for themselves. And really, they're all kind of afraid of America because America, apparently, according to many of the military people in this area, just started fighting people for no reason. They push the Americans really far back to their border. They're not officially at war. They're just doing some skirmishes and stuff. The Americans return these skirmishes by recapturing this major city and pushing the Texan forces back out of this area, and people are dying. Volunteer troops and money that was flooding into these countries from their superpower allies is kind of dried up now because we just go around killing people, aren't you? That's not what we're meant to do. Also, these are all part of like major alliances, so they really should be should all be perishing. But the pink teams made another mistake by invading into the Texan country, and it's kind of this point when they're like, we actually need to step in and do something. So they're going to hold a meeting over here in the green country, which is Utah. But Utah's now, it's like it's a dictatorship in this world. It wasn't that great in this time. It's like 1848. They arrived in Salt Lake City. John Brown or something? Was it Joe Brown? I don't know. We kind of did about this in school. Anyway, yeah, they hold a meeting over there and they decide on a peace deal. Alright, so in the peace deal, it looks really, really weird. America annexes basically just this bit here. The pink team loses out on loads of land, only gaining this portion, whilst the Texans gain the vast majority of the land. Yeah, just kind of because they were planning a counteroffensive against the pink team, and although the pink team occupied lots of this land over here in the north, number one, it would look horrible, and number two, the Texans were going to retake it. However, the ceasefire and the peace treaty was signed between all the countries that weren't officially fighting each other. Anyway, that's going to be a new front. If God forbid World War III was to happen in like 3 episodes or 2 episodes, that's not going to happen though. Anyway, over to Europe though, and to a country once again in the Russian alliance because they are going to be doing more things which are good for them. And it's back again to the Spanish/Iberian country. I mean, they're basically all of Iberia now. But they're going to be making sure of that by invading the nation of Catalonia. They really kind of need it for their coast. But they move across, taking one more major city and another one here in the central regions, and another one in the central regions. Catalonia is a pretty well-to-do country with one of the highest GDP per capita in the entire world. So it's a good place to live, and unfortunately the Texans, Spanish, will be taking over this country and stopping them from enjoying that, as they're going to be probably forced into a potential, God forbid, World War III, maybe soon. They're forced back to their capital city over here in the east, and after a few more tense battles and days, the government surrenders because they don't want any more citizen death, and that's nice of them, that's pretty honourable. But in the peace treaty, they lose their entire country, including their capital city and also the Balearic Islands, so now the Spanish have expanded even further into this region, and yeah, they're a fairly strong country. They also look pretty good on the map, and they've got a huge border with the French, who are another nation. Who's another nation? They're in the Cold War against. Also, a lot easier connections between Italy, if they can manage to hold the naval front lines there, because technically the Carthaginians hold all of this, and Carthage has quite a few more nuclear bombs than you do, which is scary. Anyway, let's go over to Australia. Australia is a cool place to go to because the pink team down here has just decided they're going to get involved in some stuff, and by getting involved in some stuff, they're going to be joining a military alliance. An alliance is, of course, the Arabic Union's military alliance. Wasn't an of course thing, but it is the Arabic Union's military alliance. They just wanted some friends and some help, and the Arabic Union was offering to help them to invade the Queensland country right over here. Queensland, right? I'm pretty sure it is. Queensland was colonized by the Chinese, but they haven't really done anything there. China's kind of more focused on the red and the brown teams, but they're not going to help these guys either. So, New South Wales forces move across the border here in the south, taking a major city on the southern coast of this country. They also push out through the desert, which is a bit. It's not too bad over here. It's kind of rainforest in some of these areas. It's like the big Queensland rainforest somewhere over here. But they push out towards this city, and Brisbane's somewhere over here, and they might have already taken it. But they're going to push towards this one right around here, maybe near Brisbane. Who knows? There's at least like lots of valuable economic stuff around here, apart from whatever this city's doing. I don't know how that exists. Maybe it should. I don't know. You tell me, Australian people. But they continue to move up the coast, taking more and more cities until finally they launch a special division into what maybe desert probably is, and take over a lot of this stuff. I mean, definitely in the western parts, definitely desert, right? And this country really starts to collapse until eventually, with like more and more Arabic Union equipment, which is some of the best military equipment in the entire world, if not the best, they're like, you know what, we're completely screwed, so we're going to sign to peace. Goodbye. Alright, so in the peace deal, the New South Wales country, or it's kind of southern Australian country, is going to annex like half of the nation, which is including the capitals. Oh, I forgot New Zealand existed. Wow, I was like, what? Sorry, New Zealand. I like the country a lot. It's cool. Anyway, they annex half the country pretty much, and including the capital city. So they're gonna need a new one of those. It's gonna need the yellow. Don't know where they put it. Probably like right in the north. Probably grow their dependence on China, but I don't even know if China really wants to align with them. There's better countries to align to, and that's going to be demonstrated by the fact that this country is going to have caused growth and alliances in Australia, as we will now see the Western Australian country, which is this orange one right over here in Western Australia, obviously. They're going to be joining their own alliance, which is of course going to be the Russian alliance. So that's over here in Western Australia now. Nice, loaded desert. Then there's one final one left, and it's a very Indian nationalist one here in the blue country, and they're of course going to be appealing to the Chinese. And it's kind of weird what the Chinese are doing, because they really, like in Southeast Asia, there's lots of, oh well, I'm Indian, so ethnicity or religion, or I'm Chinese ethnicity or so religion. Like here, they're really bullying the Indian religion people, but then in this country, they're really helping the the Indian people, religion people. And then lots of their allies are like India religion, like Northern India. So China's really, really subjective and selective with who they want to be their friends and their religion. But, works well enough for the blue country, who now has another ally pretty close to them in the red team. So yeah, Queensland, or whatever remains of it, I would be very, very afraid if I were you. These countries are all also going to join the economic alliances, but I'm not going to do that at the moment, because I like having time to do stuff in my life. Anyway, we can go off of that. I think we can go to our final event of the video. Don't worry, I know it feels like a lot of stuff has happened in this video. That's because there's still kind of a lot of things I want to do in the next few episodes. It's just that, like, not really in this one. I know. I want to make loads and loads more episodes. I just kind of, like, I feel like this part of the series is pretty much done. And as you saw before, I've grabbed the colour of the purple southern Indian country, because they are going to be invading the Sri Lankan country, taking the two major cities over here and pushing it into this territory. Once again, it's Arabic Union technology and equipment are really bolstering the nation as they move down the eastern coast into Kerala, and take over, moving land, moving into the south. There's a few strategic port cities which they're going to separate off. However, their connections to the main Sri Lankan island, where the capital is, helps to keep these cities alive. At one time, they managed to capture a few ships over here, and they get some operatives onto them, which blows up a lot of stuff in the capital, weakening the country and its central command, because the president dies so much that they're able to make a landing, take these major cities, and including with that, take the capital. Following this, the Sri Lankan nation will lose. It's pretty rough time for them, but they lose their entire country following this war. The Southern Indians take over that, and then they also, of course, take over the island of Sri Lanka. This is the second time in history the Sri Lankans have disappeared. First to the other Southern Indians, the red team, but they're kind of not in that region, and also not that strong anymore. They kind of, I don't know. I'll do top 20 rankings for the World War, so we'll see where everyone's at for that. But yeah, I think that's basically all the events of today's episode that I need to do, apart from one thing, and that is ideology. Or two things actually. I just remembered this. But wait, what? What is your? Oh, you're an extremely right-wing country, Libya. Okay. But we see some democratization finally, which is something we don't really see very often in this country. We see the Central Asians, the Salmon country, and also the Koreans all move over to democratic nations. There's one special one, and that is the Central Asian country, because they get the cool yellow bit on the outside. I also need to do like their type of democracy. But yeah, the Central Asians go to a constitutional monarchy, so the monarch isn't gone, but it's a democracy now, so that's nice. They have like a prime minister, like in the English country, or the Romanian country, or Norway, or Austria when they used to exist, but they don't anymore. There's really not that many monarchies in the world. There's 2 in Europe, in Spain and Hungary, 2 in Central Asia, and then 2 in South America, with one in Honduras and 1 in Ecuador. So that's strange. Sad to see so many can go. Anyway, the other final thing I need to do in today's episode is update nuclear bombs. So I'm going to do that right now. I can do the first ones just right here. There's quite a few nuclear bombs in the world. I think before the end of the Cold War, like before the major war that may potentially happens, we could probably see lots of these countries, like the superpower ones, donate more of their more of their bombs to their allies. But the British go up to 21, which isn't that huge of an increase. The Germans have been helping their allies in America, so they go up to 45, which is still rather a lot. The Carthaginians go all the way up to 28, which also isn't that huge of a jump for them, seeing as the growth before that had been pretty good. Strange, I don't know what that's about. I do. Anyway, let's do the major 3 then, shall we? I forgot I need to pause it. Alright, there's something pretty cool happening in these ones, so I'm quite excited for that. But let's first off go to the Russians, the country with currently the most nuclear bombs out of anyone in the world. So they go all the way up from 101 and 37, all the way to 122 and 47. So there's 10 nuclear bombs outside of their territory, which is quite a lot. But they're going to be giving 3 nuclear bombs to the Mongolian country, so they go all the way up from 4 to 7. The Russians only gained this ally like in the last episode, so they're pretty new, but they look cool. So that's nice. They also give a total 3 nuclear bombs to the Spanish, putting them on 10. So they have more than the Italians, but it's kind of just to equalize it, because they wanted to give them to the Italians, because they're in a more strategic spot. But oh well. But like Spain would have so many less. And then Texas receives the final 4 nuclear bombs. That's quite a lot to Texas. They are the new Russian ally, however, and the Russians want to make sure they can win in America, because a lot of money you can get from the eastern coast of America. Anyway, let's now head over to the second of these great 3. Well, we have the Arabic Union heading up from 135 all the way up, 135 outside their territory to 145 outside of their territory. So just like Russia, they're putting 10 bombs out of their country. So that's pretty cool. Where are they going to go to? Well, we see 5 nuclear bombs, kind of like retaliation to what Russia did. 5 nuclear bombs are put into the American country. That's pretty cool. We see 2 nuclear bombs go to the Southern Indian country. They don't really have a strategic spot, but at least now they are equalized with Pakistan. I don't know if. Hopefully, I'm not going to fight a land war with Pakistan. That would be pretty scary. But you can just toss them at them, I suppose. And the Gangetic country's got 2 more, but like 1 more. Yeah, don't worry. They're probably chill. I doubt they're going to try and bomb you or anything. And then the final 3 are going to go over to their ally down here in New South Wales, which is the only one of the Australian allies that is actually going to be receiving any land. So they go all the way up to land nukes. They go all the way to 3 nuclear bombs. And then the final one is China. China's pretty basic usually, but they go up from 96 and 30 all the way up to 117, and then a total of 38 outside their territory. That's quite a big number, but less than the other great powers just because of like they started later. But they're going to put 2 nuclear bombs into the Central Asian country, maybe like a thank you for democratizing. But also, these other guys didn't put any nukes in their Central Asian countries, like this belt of them. So that's going to raise tensions there again, because he could have just left it and they would all been fine. Another 2 go to the Kashmir country, putting them on 7. And then following that, there's another 2 to the Tibetan country, putting them on 7. And then I bet you can't guess what happens down here in the Ganjiatic country, because they go all the way up from 7 to 9. They're all just getting 7 today. And then we need to do one final nuclear power, and that is, of course, the nation of Germany. But you didn't expect that. Yeah, that's a cool thing happening. They're going to be having 7 nuclear bombs outside their territory, which is not that many, really. But we see 3 nuclear bombs go to the Romanian country, which is 4, I mean. So they have 5 from China, which is weird, and then 4 from Germany. I don't know if I like how this is. It's weird. And then the Wisconsin country, who didn't receive any from China, is going to receive 3 nuclear bombs from Germany, because the Germans are kind of more invested in this territory. So there we go. We have a nuclear bomb spreading to basically all the continents in the world. I say all of them, because Carthage might have some in their other secret territories. But there you go. That is today's episode pretty much done. Thank you for watching. I will see you again next time. The Cold War is pretty quickly approaching its end, and I'm very, very excited. So yeah, see you then soon. Goodbye. And have a nice rest of your day. And subscribe. I don't know.